Hey guys, I'm finally in my new shop. Been doing a few small jobs in here, but this is the first one I've really had time to video, and I think it'll be helpful for somebody. This is a 25 Bronco Sport, replacing the lower textured half of the front bumper. There's some other videos out there that I had to watch myself just to see how all this came apart. I did a repair on a 23 a few months ago at the door and the fender, so I didn't have to do this. But I did pop this back. But in order to get the bumper off, at least the proper way, you're supposed to take the whole front end off as an assembly like this. So what you've got is T30s along the bottom. They actually have two right next to each other for some reason, but you've got T30s along here, 7mm here along the wheel well, clips along here. So once you get the molding, you just need to pull the molding out of the bumper. You really don't have to get all the clips out of this. I pulled two of these out because you can reach in from behind here and pop these loose. It just gave me a little more room. You got two bolts you need to get out from in here, and there's also a clip there that just holds it in place. You got a connector here. That's the only one on this vehicle anyway. So once you can disconnect this and you take headlight bolts out, bolts behind the grille, I think these were 7mm, and you had a couple I think 10mm across the headlights, and there's one you got access from the wheel well. Let's see where it was. Yes, it's right here, but you go in from the inside and get that 10mm out of the headlights. So there's three in the headlights each, and then this is the only one that's a little hard to get to. Go back behind here and pinch this clip with vice grips. That will be this clip here, and that'll release all of this. You take the headlights and everything out with it. So the way I did it was I started here, pulled this back, got the molding out of the bumper, took the bolts out. I actually ran them out from up top with an extension. Did that on both sides, went down the wheel well along the bottom, and then once I had the wheel wells open on either side, I reached in here, got this one out of each headlight, and then I came up, took the screws out of the headlights up here, and then along the top of the grill, and reached in, disconnected the connector. Whole thing just pulls back. Didn't take maybe 15 minutes. Okay, the one I've got here has a plug in here for the fog lamp. New part got delivered and I thought I had the wrong thing. I didn't have the vehicle here to look, but there's actually a plug in the front, and then this bolts in from the back, and this holds the plug in. If you have fog lamps, you just transfer your lamp over, but I've got to transfer over these plugs. But I've got to disconnect the wiring out of here, and they also have got it riveted to the bottom. I've got to drill the rivets, at least these two on the ends, so I can transfer all this over and re-rivet it. You can bolt it together if you have to. I'm going to try to rivet it if I can get some rivets this size, if I don't have some already. But you just want to be very careful with all this. Just this bottom piece, list price was almost $1,100, and that's the only place I could get it was from the dealership. Being a 25, this car is only about 4 months old. So we'll be replacing this, and it got this brace that holds the shutter, and I think it might have bent this back. I need to check the other side, but that to me looks bent back. I may have to straighten this, and I got to check the grill shutter for damage, but I've got the bumper and I've got the brace. Anything else I need, I'll have to order. Okay, I did have a little bit of damage on the bracket. Once I replaced this bracket here that was bent, let's see if I got that one still. I don't know if I showed you that or not, but this bracket right here got bent over. It was bent more than this, but I had to bend it open to get to that nut at the bottom there. It was folded over that nut. So once I put the bracket up here and tightened it down to the subframe, this stud was a good inch off from the back of this slot. So this bracket here, it's actually made into the rebar. This really should have been a separate piece bolted in right here so you could replace it. something like this happened. What I did was I took this screw out of the shutter assembly back here and the one on the other side, so the bottom of this was free, and I put a spreader in here, and I covered this with plastic so I wouldn't scratch anything, but I put a spreader up here and pushed this apart to get this gap back in it, and then I pushed this out a little bit too, and I've got it where it's probably a 1/4 inch from being all the way in, but I'm not going to push any further because I don't want to break this. This would really need to be out of the way, but that's got it and that's fine. But it was back enough that it was starting to bend the rubber hose here, and I didn't want that to be restricted, so I bent that out probably at least a 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch. Now moving on to swapping the bottom half of the bumper. Since I only have to do the bottom, I'm just taking out the things that are attached to it, so all this wiring can stay in the painted part of the bumper. But I'm unplugging the lights, the connector. All of this is part of the lower piece. There's 4 screws, one there. I've already run out, 2, 3, 4. Same thing over here, just pulled the connector off the light and out of the retainer right there. Once I get all this apart, I'll transfer everything over onto the new piece before I put it on here. But I should just have to take the little tabs off now, separated from the painted part. And I've got to make sure that I keep this stable here. I'm probably going to weigh this down so that those headlights can't possibly flip over when I take this off and fall on the floor. I've got it pulled back on the rack, so if it flips, it might just land there, but I'm going to put some weight on this part right here. Normally I put like hammers and dollies and maybe an impact wrench or something, just lay it there to hold it down. I shouldn't have to mess with any of that. It's just going to be the bottom piece. Okay, I just noticed that there's another screw here. This is molded into the bumper, so I got to take that one off each side, and I believe that'll be it. Okay, I was looking at this wrong. This harness is actually in the bumper. I was seeing these blue tabs and just thought this was part of the blue piece, but this is actually the bumper that runs up over it, and the bumper's clipped into that. So I got to get these 3 retainers out on each side. And that's part of the grille, so I know that can stay. It's just the ones on the end, so these over here, and we should be good. Well, I ended up having to pull the headlights out. There's 4 screws, one in the corner, here. I think it was down here, maybe in the other piece, but that piece overlaps all of this. I was trying to wiggle it out, but that other piece here, all of this down here overlaps the joint right here for the grille and the bumper, where they both meet up, and they're held together by the blue piece. So I need to pull them out of the way so that I can get this separated. I think all I'm going to be able to leave together will be the grille and the blue trim. The rest of it had to come apart. But now I can actually get these grille tabs. I could kind of reach these, but there was no way to get it out easily under that piece, so I went ahead and just took it all off. Okay, it's fully built back up. Got the fog light plugs in. This plate goes on first around the outside to give you a place to screw the filler in right there. It just takes the place of the fog light hole. And I transferred all 6 of these little screw or speed nuts on to this one. I think for almost $1,100 they give you those with the bumper. And there was a rivet just like this on the end. I replaced that with a speed nut and a screw like they should have done to begin with on each side, and I've got the load spread out a little bit better. And I did the same thing on the other one I repaired a couple months ago. They had the side damage, and then they also had a little bit on the front from hitting a small deer. So I was doing this at the same time, but I did the same repair here. Took the rivet that had pulled through and just replaced it with a speed nut and a screw. And there's enough clearance back here behind the molding that this will clip in and not interfere with the fitment of the molding. I'm going to get this thing picked up and snap it back in. Main thing is you get the headlight pins to go in here and snap in right there. Then you can snap the clip into the bumper, or in the bumper into the fender, and that'll hold it for you. And then it's just reassembling all the fasteners. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. All right, all back together. I don't know if I even showed you the original damage. I'll go back there and show you that in a second. Got it out back. This is just a filler. They sent me a picture when they wanted me to estimate this, and I couldn't tell if it was molded or not from the picture. It sure looked like it molded in. Here's the original damage here. She was turning into a driveway and the concrete broke off at the apron, and she ran over the piece that broke. Hit the subframe here, which took a lot of it, which was good because right in here was that bracket and the intercooler and all that. See you on the next one.